Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. It's been a really disturbing week for all lovers of cricket because the shadow of match fixing or spot fixing in this case is back and it's hovering very much over the IPL all week long. How deep is the rot? How far is this going to go? I suspect we're not going to know the full answers to those questions just yet. But what can be done to save the sport that all of us love so much from the issues of fixing, of alleged corruption, of bribing, of all of these horrible things, that perhaps is something we can try and get some answers to in the next hour or so. And we have an absolutely fantastic panel. Many people have done a lot of work in looking into this area as well, such as Anirudh Behel, editor, CobraPost.com, who has, of course, done a detailed series of investigations and stings into the problems of match fixing. Dean Jones, former Australian cricketer, fantastic that you could be with us, as indeed it's an honour to have you with us as well. Farooq Engineer, somebody who's represented India. Alam Srinivas has done a lot of work also on this. He's the co-author of IPL Cricket and Commerce and Inside Stories. So, we're going to get some of those inside stories from you. Some people who worked really closely with the BCCI and seeing what we can possibly do about all of this. Kishore Rungta joining us from Jaipur. He is a former honorary treasurer of the BCCI, was actually the treasurer at the time of the 2000 match-fixing scandal actually broke. We also have Mr. Jayant Lele joining us from Baroda, who's a former secretary of the BCCI. And finally, joining us from Bangalore, Charu Sharma, cricket commentator, expert who's been keeping a close eye on all of this. Anirudh, I'll start with you. How deep do you think the rot goes right now?
When we first broke the story in 1997 in Outlook magazine about match fixing, everybody said that you were running a mouse and you were flying a kite. And it was subsequent stories in 98 when the Pakistani match fixing report again came out, and the Rashid Latif story, and subsequently the Hansi Cronje thing and the Manoj Prabhakar allegations, etc., came up, that everybody started saying, okay, now this is the tipping point, this is the tipping point. For the last 16 years, we are seeing tipping points as well. We think that once the story comes, and we are just shocked, and we all of us shocked for a week or 2 weeks, but then just say then nothing systematic happens which basically changes the governance of the sports in a manner in which a certain amount of transparency comes in, or a certain amount of deterrence comes in. I mean, look at these players. They were conscious of, they knew exactly what the consequences were if they were caught, but they still went ahead and did it. And for them to have been caught now, I think people, you have to be penalized. And I agree with Dino. I think he's been saying the Rajasthan Royals have to be banned. I totally endorse the fact the team has to go out, even though we might all be sportsmen and we may be wanting Rajasthan Royals to play, but I think the team has to go out absolutely. And there have to be, the franchisee owners have to have a consequence to it. There have to be a deterrence in terms of sort of legislative aspect of it. There is still no match fixing law in India, so I really don't know how they're going to prosecute Sri Kant and the others.
Scandal after scandal comes, nothing actually gets done. Dean Jones, let me ask you first the first question. Is this a one-off case? Are these 3 players, 4 players, 5 players, however many names are going to come out right now? Or does it go far deeper than that?
I think it might go a little bit deeper than what people is. Not necessarily in cricket. I think it's in every sport. I think it's our biggest cancer in our community. It's our biggest, I know in Australia, it's our gambling, online gambling. Now, the people have had enough of it and seeing it on it's now one of the major sponsors of our teams and all that type of stuff, and they're trying to actually eradicate it or reduce it on TV. Governments are trying to do that. But the bottom line is it still comes down to an individual choice, whether it's a player to involve himself with a fix, or whether or not just a normal punter, just a person wants to bet on India to beat Pakistan, for example, or Australia to beat, have a $10 bet or something like that. That's fine. But when it actually gets on these little intricacies of the game, that's the worst thing. But it's going to go on forever. And I really don't know how you're going to police it. These guys are betting now are just massive amounts of money, and we really don't know how much money is being bet.
Okay, Farooq Engineer, before I come to you and Alam, let me just go across to Kishore Rungta. Mr. Rungta, yes, these scandals keep coming, and we keep, every time we say, I'm sure something should be done. Have attempts actually been made at a systematic level to try and stamp this out?
See, as far as the Cricket Control Board is concerned, they do not unfortunately have a mechanism of either policing the whole system or having some legislative controls, because they are not a quasi-judicial authorities. Their job is to run cricket as such, and law of the land has to take care of the whole thing. I remember when it broke out the first time around, a fact, Mr. Harish Salve, who was then the Solicitor General, he went on record to say that the penalty is so small for such crimes that no investigation in fact is possible, in the sense that even if you were to go, what is the penalty? A bookie, we cannot summon a bookie, we cannot summon the players as such. Now, we do not have mechanism to do all these things. So, it is the legislation which will have to be improved upon solidly for these cricketers in fact to feel the fear of it. And then we should get all the support from the police departments or the concerned departments who can investigate and come to the conclusion. As far as this world tip of the iceberg is concerned, I have been hearing it for many years. In fact, last time when this controversy broke out, that was also the tip of the iceberg, but nothing thereafter happened.
Yeah,
Even when the
unfortunately
IPL
seem to be
started, there were a lot of
lots of icebergs out
controversies, but no investigations have been concluded as yet. Yes, there is an elephant, I do agree, but we'll have to see that elephant, recognize that elephant and remedy it. See, cricket is like religion in India. We treat it as religion, and therefore it is necessary that cricket, if an impression or perception of the public does not go in the way that this has become another WWW, it is necessary that some kind of togetherness between the government and cricket administration has to come up, and that only can lead to the ultimate solution in my perception.